Okay, for those of you first timers, real quick, this is Patrick Allmond from Stop Doing Nothing headquarters here. Today we're going to be talking about, by the way, this is show 89. You'd think these numbers would be high, but it's really weird how math works. Show 89. What does it mean? What does Stop Doing Nothing mean? Well, first of all, let's get the obvious out of the way. I picked a phrase a couple of decades doing nothing, and about it when I just look at the word stop doing nothing. It's a sentence, and what that's instantly supposed to communicate from me to you is that if you are stuck on something, then think about the problem for a little bit, but as soon as possible. Way too many people, in my opinion, have a big challenge with the unknown, a big challenge in not knowing what to do, and they live in that fear, and they live in that fear stew is what I call it. They churn around in that fear for days, weeks, months on end, and all of a sudden it becomes years. And 5 years down the line, someone says, so when are you going to execute that big idea? And you're like, well, I've been thinking about it for a while, but I haven't really, now's not the right time. And if you're doing that, you're not really, in my opinion, living the stop doing nothing life. You're going to see here some kind of, again, some tips or some philosophies I have as we kind of go through this. But to me, the very thing is when you have or you have a plan, or you have something that you say, I really want this, and not the kind of cat this soul it really badly. When you have that kind of feeling in your life, what you should do is you should start taking immediate imperfect action. And that's what Stop Doing Nothing means, is that when you have an idea and you've made that commitment, that hardcore black and white, hard-ass edged commitment that you want something, immediately start taking action on it. Stop, don't wait around, don't think about it too much. Get some small education on it, and that's what my tips are going to be talking about. The first one is stop doing nothing. And by the way, in case someone asks, these shirts, these Stop Doing Nothing shirts, are available in the Stop Doing Nothing store over at store.stopdoingnothing.com. Let me put that up in here real quick on the screen. Store.stopdoingnothing.com. If you're interested, we've got hats, we've got shirts. The shirts are really popular. I send those out to clients, but they're also available online if you want to pick up one of those. So what else? That's the obvious stuff. The first one I wrote down here when I think about stop doing nothing, the phrase is being comfortable with being ignorant. I don't have a lot of education. I did complete high school, jump right in the military, and I do have some college under my skin. But as a confession, which a lot of people don't know about, is I don't have a lot of formal business education or business training. There was no 4-year degree or to get some kind of in business. Almost everything I've learned has been taught. There are a lot of things I didn't know how to do when I first went into business. There's a really cool story I like to tell about when I went into business in 1998. I went on my very first business trip to Iowa and barely had any money. Had no idea of the kind of accounts, receivable and invoicing and stuff like that. And I stayed in this hotel where I barely had any money, and my credit card kept getting rejected, and I had no idea about invoicing. And I was the first payment deposited, and the company I was working with was like, well, we can't pay you until you invoice. And then all of a sudden it kind of hit me, like, I kid you not, it was freezing cold in Iowa. It hit me that I didn't know how to do invoices, and I didn't know how to bill. So I remember in that hotel had a business center. I'm not even sure. I was traveling with a laptop at the time. I might have been. But that hotel had a business center, and I had to go down to that business center and basically learn how to. I'm not sure. I think we at the time, but I basically between the internet and the software on the laptop, I kind of figured out, here's the invoicing for hours, and you print an invoice, and this is what you put on the invoice, and then you mail it. They pay you. I know it seems kind of 101, but you have to remember, I didn't have any business 101. This was me figuring this out on the fly. So here I am stuck in a hotel in Iowa when it's freezing cold. I'm kind of hiding as I'm going back and forth in front of the front desk, hoping they don't say, hey, Mr. Allmond, we're still trying to charge your credit card and it's still not going through. 100% true story. And I kept waiting to happen because we could basically pay them with. But yeah, I had to go out in the freezing cold in this business center. After I figured the wasting thing, I had to turn it out. I think I had to borrow an envelope from the hotel. And I had to go find like a local FedEx box is what I had to do. And the FedEx box, I basically had to overnight it to the place working for. And I kid you not, I'm at the FedEx box in this freezing cold weather trying to figure out how to basically get it in an envelope, because they give you the envelopes there. There's one of those FedEx standalone stations. And get an envelope and get paid for it. And the FedEx truck pulled up, the last FedEx truck of the night. I have my timing, talking about impeccable timing. So basically, if my invoice gone out. And then it would have gone out the next morning. So I was there for the freezing cold in Iowa at a FedEx mail drop, where the last FedEx of the truck of the night picked up my invoicing. And that was my hardcore exposure to business invoicing. The whole point being with this first point is that when I went to business for myself, I seem to have an inherent comfort with knowing things and being able to figure them out on my own. So there are a lot of things I don't know. I probably don't know 80% of the things it takes to be successful. But one of the ones I really think makes for a good entrepreneur is being basically comfortable with not knowing. So if a client springs something on me or something new comes to work, challenge presents itself, I don't freak out. I think like the average with, oh man, I have no idea how to do that, and this is going to really drive me down over things like that. I'm pretty much, well, but I'll figure it out. So, whenever talks to me or a coaching client ever talks to me and they say, do you know how to, we really need this talent or this skill, or do you know this topic for speaking, whatever it is? I'm like, nope, but I'll learn it. I guarantee you I'll know weeks out. And so I've always been very comfortable with my ignorance, if you will. I don't like being ignorant, but I've been okay with it because I know that I can pick up the skill from another person or from a book, or reading and taking an online course or somebody else's knowledge. So to live a nothing life, one of the first things you have to realize and that you have to be comfortable with is being comfortable with knowing that you don't know everything. And that's not a bad thing. None of us can know everything, but what we can do is it's very easy for us to acquire that knowledge. I guess that's what we get there. So that's the first one right there. The second one I kind of have down notes that I wanted to is realizing that formal schooling can often be replaced with self-study, which is a little bit briefly what I touched on. Kind of what I touched on before is the fact that I've never been the person that you had to pick up a lot of your knowledge. I've been perfectly capable of self-study. I never thought that sitting in the classroom learning a bunch of stuff that I wasn't going to use in real life sense for me. And so I've always been okay with self-study. I'm really good at watching videos 24 hours a day, picking up knowledge of people that have done it before me, because those are the best people in the world to learn from. I'm really comfortable with picking up a book or going to a Barnes & Noble and just absorbing knowledge and trying, until I figure it out. So if you're someone who's watching this in your life, I could go into college and acquire a bunch of debt, or start something on my own and see if it's working for me or not, and maybe I don't need the college, then maybe you consider the route that I took, which is not going into a ton of debt for college, and maybe kind of starting something on your own, because all of that college study stuff that you learn is online. It's a given. The world is Google. And so it's very easy for you to acquire this knowledge without sitting for 8, 10 hours or 12-hour college classes and acquiring the debt. I'm very debt. And so if you have the option to avoid debt at all costs, but you still want to violently execute on a plan, then consider becoming the kind of person who's just really good at self-studying. That's something I'm particularly proud of, is the fact that I know that I'm pretty good at the whole self-study. And I can do that oftentimes without spending money on courses myself. So the challenge with that is you have to become also a starter, meaning you have to be the one who's early and stay late and do a lot of focus kind of work, because you are the one in charge of your education. You're the one in charge of your schedule of learning particular things. And so you almost have to become more disciplined than someone that goes to college. The person that goes to college has a set time they have to wake up. They have to be at certain classes from 9 o'clock to 9:45. The next class is from 10:15. I mean, they've got for them. The kind of person that chooses to go the self-study route, completely responsible for when to blow off a week of your life and not do anything, or you can work 60 or 70 hours learning a skill. But you are 100% in charge of that when you are a self-starter. So, I am not necessarily, like I said earlier, a fan of you have to go a formal schooling process to learn what it takes to run a business or to get in shape. I mean, goodness gracious, let's not even talk about and how much about the fitness world you can learn attending a fitness class versus fitness class, or by self-study, or by actually going out and exercising and figuring out what works and what doesn't work. The greatest people that I can learn from in fitness are the ones who have experimented a lot made some mistakes, has worked and what hasn't worked. And I would gladly pay for that knowledge, that experience for that person versus me sitting for 8 hours a day in a college class, go in the field and actually exercise and pick up the skill that way. So that was just kind of number two. They realized that formal schooling can often be replaced with a self-starter. But again, to be a self-starter, you have to become disciplined. And one of the other things I didn't write down here is that discipline is so greater than motivation. When you whether you watch my videos, you watch a Gary, you watch a Tony Robbins video, oftentimes people will really get motivated and they're like, oh my goodness gracious, I see that person did that. They made $1 million last year and I want to do that. And that motivation is okay, but I can promise you that lasts for a very short period of time. You watch a 5-minute YouTube video and you're going to get riled up for the day, and then it's going to be Tuesday and all of a sudden you're like, well, I need to get motivated again. Maybe I'll watch another video. What you should learn about motivation is that it's temporary. And I often tell people, if you want to be motivated for a day, watch a video. If you want to be happy for a day, watch a motivational video. If you want to be happy time, learn discipline. So self-starter definitely requires you to learn the discipline. Let me see, what else did I have here? I think the knowledge is the desire to be smart, the hunger to be smart. Every now and then I'll run into someone, and these are really someone who is just a voracious consumer of knowledge, and they want to be at all costs. And those are the people you have to worry about right there, because those people will be successful. The people that they have kind of the attitude I talked about in my first point on this video, which is they don't know how they're going to do it. They're going to do it one way or another. Those are the people you want to be friends with, and those are the people you have to watch out for. So if it's kind of the difference between what I call lightly motivated and being outrageously motivated and being hungry is really kind of have to train yourself to do. It's not something that comes by most people, but it has to be one of those things that success at all costs, or becoming a millionaire at all costs, or acquiring a skill at all costs. Cold brew, for those of you asking, right there. There it is. Cold, is it on there? Grande cold nitro brew. That's my jam. So if you aren't that kind of person, or if you see that kind of who will basically bust their ass at all costs, successful, try to follow those kind of people in the world. I'm not quite sure if I'm one, but there are several people out there that I follow that I just know will basically bust their own successful at any possible costs out there. Something else I think that kind of epitomizes the stop doing nothing life is being okay with making mistakes. And I probably touched on this in some earlier points. And to tell you the truth, all my bullet points right here are kind of Venn diagram all over each other, a little bit. But being okay with making mistakes is something else that I think epitomizes the whole stop doing nothing life. Being okay with jumping into something and not knowing how to do it. Being okay with putting yourself out there, whether it's a video like this, or a Facebook update, or an ad, or going on TV, or a variety of things where you are looking like a fool. Okay with failing, because self-talk, I'm really big into self-talk. And when it comes to failure, you can look at failure two different ways. You can look just the word says, you tried something and you didn't succeed and you should be embarrassed and hate yourself because you made a fool of yourself, or failure as well. Damn, that was a rough lesson. Maybe I should do better next time. Your ass, and you figure out the skills you need to do better next time. So that's really kind of, to me, what failure really should be, is a lesson. Be okay with making mistakes, and change the words the self-talk you use when you talk to yourself when it comes to. Try not to use the word failure or stupid mistake. Try to use the word as maybe hard lesson. Failures are just hard lessons. That's really all they are, is lessons that we paid money sometimes to learn. And so, a lot of psychology, a lot of self-talk is using different words. So one of them might be, get the word failure, either your task being a failure or you being a failure, out of your terminology, and replace that with lesson or hard life lesson, or whatever you want to call it. I'm perfectly willing to have lots of hard life lessons, but I have yet to consider myself a failure. Next one I want to talk to you here is a really cool, and I can't remember who I saw this one say once. An imperfect plan executed beats a perfectly planned executed. So actually, I think the way this should be is an imperfect plan violently executed today beats a plan executed tomorrow. And again, what that means is On shirts, it's not on this shirt right here. I have some shirts that say done is better than perfect. I'm gonna write that down in big giant letters so you can write that down yourself later. Write this down. Maybe make this a screen backdrop or someplace. Done is better than perfect. Okay? What that means is the old school, here's another example, the old school world of starting a business would basically be you work for months and months and months on a perfect business plan, and then you eventually get it approved by someone, and then you execute it. Nah, this is 19. What we do these days is we take an idea, it seems like a halfway good idea, we do a little bit of planning on it, and then we get to work. We don't overthink it. We don't sit on it for weeks or for months or for quarters or, oh, I'm going to get to that, I'm going to get to that. No, the person who sits around and waits for the perfect time or the perfect opportunity is going to be run over by the person doing the work. So an imperfect plan violently executed today. And what that means by violently executed, that means just not going casually into it. What that means is you go into it deeply. You go into it, shoulders first, head first, feet first, whatever you want to call it, to it like a brick wall. You run into that brick wall. You don't jog all the time. You run into that brick 50 miles an hour, coming in like the Kool-Aid man, crashing and burning. An imperfect plan violently executed today beats a perfect plan executed tomorrow. That's what the full phrase should be right there. And so all that when I took that note and as I was thinking of this show for you, all I was trying to basically say there is that with doing a little bit of planning on your goals, your wishes, your dreams, or upset, but then getting to work as possible. Because if you have this same, let's say it's a Monday morning, the same goals, dreams, and upset that somebody else does, and you got it for hours, and then by noon or in the afternoon, you're getting to work. It's building a website, it's building a shop, it's setting up an e-commerce account to sell something, it's getting on the phone and reaching out to roads, it's looking for events where you want to speak. It doesn't really matter what it is. But let's say by noon you're working on that. Well, the guy who had the same thought as you in the morning, they're still thinking about it. They're working on a spreadsheet. They're making a long plan. Maybe they get done about 1 o'clock and they go back to something else. And on Tuesday they plan a little bit more. And maybe Wednesday they plan a little bit more. And then maybe by Thursday they kind of get to work. Well, you know what? You've already 2 or 3 days. So be okay with doing some planning, but living off of an imperfect plan and basically kind of learn as you go. My philosophy is basically learn, execute, learn, execute, learn, execute. Oftentimes in the world of college, which you're basically learning for 48 months and then you execute. No, execute. Maybe it should be learn, execute, stumble, burn, learn, execute, stumble, crash, and burn. That's the philosophy that I believe in right there. I should write that down. Hold on a second. So what did I say? I said learn, execute, stumble, crash and burn, and then go back to learning again. I'm going to have to use that at some point in time in some other training like that. So yeah, that needs to be your life. Learn, execute, stumble, crash and burn, and then learn again and restart again. And the last point I want to leave you here when I talk about what's the definition of stop doing nothing and what does it mean is I wrote down, I don't know is never an acceptable reason to not do something. And again, this kind of touches on some of the previous I was talking about, is that whether it's a technical skill or an interpersonal skill or an emotional skill or a skill having to do with emotional intelligence, if you don't know how to do something, perfectly okay. But not knowing how to do something is not a good reason to not do it. And that kind of is a tongue twister right there, and I hope that makes sense. But I don't know how to do something that shouldn't. Let's say right now if I was to go outside my office and I didn't know how to jog. I could look up a YouTube video on how to jog, and in 5 minutes, I'd know a little bit about how to jog. I'd probably hurt myself because I didn't stretch, come back and be in a little bit of pain, and then I would get on and watch some more videos. I'm like, oh, here's the stretching routines you should do before. Here is what you should eat before you jog. Here's what you should eat after you. This is how you should hydrate when you do jog. You know what? Next time I go out and jog, I'll learn a little bit more, and I'll do a little bit better. But you know what? A longer jog this time. And oh, you know what? I learned, and the jog was a little bit of a longer jog this time, and came back in a lot more pain. Come back, Google, okay, how to do, marathon jogging, or how to do 3, something like that. Again, I'm more of the learn, stumble kind of person. However, I don't know is very rarely say. What I may say, though, is I don't know, but I will learn. So don't ever say I don't know in response to an issue or a challenge you're having in life. Don't ever say I don't know and just stop right there. Say I don't know, but I will learn. Or I don't know, but I'm hungry to learn. Or I don't know, but I want to learn. Don't let I don't know be the end of an idea or the end of a philosophy or the end of a plan or the end of a dream or obsession. Be okay with not knowing and learning something on how to do something. And so that's kind of mine. Those are my 5 points right there. So it's kind of a quick recap. The obvious thing when I say stop doing nothing, make sure you take action as soon as possible. Be comfortable with being ignorant. Trust me, I'm the king of being ignorant, but I don't stay ignorant for very long. Formal schooling can often be replaced with self-study, but you have to be a self-starter and a hungry self-starter. And the desire to learn is very important. If you have a desire to be successful, you can do quite a bit in life. Be okay with making mistakes. And if you ever want a reference for someone who makes a lot of mistakes, just come back here and make some comments or message me or text me. You can always text me right here. Let's get that number on the screen for you. There we go. You could always text me or call the office right here if you want me to address a particular issue, or especially if you want me to do it anonymously. If there's a that you want me to answer, please go ahead and text it right here or call here, and I will get the main Stop Doing Nothing office number right here, and me or somebody else in the office will answer this and get back possible. And the last point I want to leave you with is the phrase I don't know is only okay if you follow it up with a plan to know. It's only okay if you follow it up with something like I want to learn. So don't ever an idea with I know that when I have some discussions in my family here, oftentimes we don't know, but goodness gracious, in a heartbeat, we've got our phone out and we're going to learn. So if these ideas make sense to you, if you want to know more about what we do here at Stop Doing Nothing, head over to the website at stopdoingnothing.com and contact me, and I'll see if there's an appropriate coaching program for you. And you notice I don't do a lot of plugging here, but we do have coaching, we do have business coaching. And if you like these ideas and if you want to violently execute your plan in the next 8 weeks, then reach over there out to us and we'll see if we have something that's a good fit for you. Subscribe, maybe leave a review there on iTunes, on Apple. You guys take care, and we will chat with you soon.